Good morning. Welcome to worship at Mesa View United Methodist Church. We believe we are called to love God and our neighbor through relationship, service, and witness. As we worship together today, you are all invited to open your hearts and consider how God can change your life and empower you to seek these ideals in your own life. If you're watching online, we ask that you check in by hitting a like on Facebook or YouTube. No matter how you've joined us today, we're glad you are here, and we invite you to join us in this time as well. Welcome.
Well, I also wanted to add my welcome to you this morning. Good morning and welcome to Mesa View United Methodist Church. I have to tell you, this a little. First of all, you are, as you can see, we're being filmed today, and so it's good to see all of you here. It's good to have all of you joining us online as well. And I wanted to share with you just a little story. We have a special guest who is staying in this building right now. We walked in Monday morning and noticed a squirrel that was running away from the front door, and he's been living in here all week. We finally have him trapped because he got into our pancake mix, and you know that right now during our COVID policy, it's against the rules to share food and bring food. So he's violated the rules. So we'll get rid of him here, take him down to the bosque where hopefully he can have a new start. But it was a fun puzzle and a fun diversion. And even for the birds and the animals and the critters, it's nice that this is a church home. In that spirit, I hope that this is a church home for all of you, and a place where you feel at home and you feel welcome and loved and comfortable both today and any Sunday that you join us. And so in that spirit, let's all stand as Doug leads us in our affirmation of faith.
Jesus stays with us in the Spirit, who renews our hearts, moves us to faith, leads us in truth, stands by us in our need, and makes our obedience fresh and vibrant. The Spirit's gifts are here to stay in rich variety, fitting responses to timely needs. We thankfully see each other as gifted members of the fellowship, which delights in the creative Spirit's work. He gives more than enough to each believer for God's praise and our neighbor's welfare.
All right, you may be seated. And we come now to a time where we share joys and concerns. If you're watching from home, you can email those joys or concerns to care@mesaviewumc.org. Or you can leave them in the comment section of the video, as long as it's nothing private and as long as you use first names only. For those of us who are gathered here in person, are there those who have a joy or concern they wish to share today? Yes. Yeah, so one of the joys as we go week by week is we're seeing a new face or two here and there Sunday to Sunday. So today is homecoming Sunday for Mary Jo. Welcome home, Mary Jo. Welcome back to church. Also, of course, Chris and Muffy and Ruth have been coming to the 11 o'clock service, but we're all gathered here for the service today, and we're grateful for that, certainly. Other joys or concerns? Aaron. So we want to pray for Aaron's girlfriend, who is traveling back from Denver on Friday, for safe travels. Probably a better week to travel from Denver this coming week than it was last week, but still, we'll keep her in prayer, certainly. Yeah. Others? All right, well then let's go to the Lord in prayer. Lord, it's tempting for us to say, I may forgive, but I'll never forget. And we think that we are truly following the ways of Christ. how blind we are, O Lord. Forgiveness means wiping the slate clean and not retaining the hurt. It works both ways, letting ourselves make the decision for healing and reaching out to the one who has hurt us to offer forgiveness and redemption. None of us is perfect. We know that. But Jesus reminded us that love is the ruling component in our lives, the ruling component in any life of faithful living. So help us, Lord, to really receive the love that you have lavished upon us. Help us to receive this deep sense of forgiveness that you offer through Jesus Christ. Not just a sense of forgiveness, but a reality of it. Help us to understand that love as an agent of forgiveness is a healing power. We've brought before you names of people and situations that are on our hearts. We seek your healing mercies and tender love for them. Remind us that the same mercy and love is continually offered to us, even though we falter and fail. Be with us, gracious Lord, all of our days. Walk with us as did your Son, who healed and showed us grace. One of those graces was that he taught us the very words to pray, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Doug, will you come and share with us? Of course you can sing. Absolutely. Let's hear a great hymn. We have a story to tell to the nations, and Dave is going to share that with us today. I'm glad even in the simplified services I'm managing to stumble over it a little bit. That way you know it's really me behind the mask. All right, let's hear the hymn.
We've a story to tell to the nations that shall turn their hearts to the right. A story of truth and mercy, a story of truth and light, a story of peace and light. For the darkness shall turn to dawning, and the dawning to noonday bright. And Christ's great kingdom shall come on earth, the kingdom of love and light. We've a song to be sang to the nations that shall lift their hearts to the Lord, a song that shall conquer evil, shatter the piercer and sword, and shatter the spear and sword. For the darkness shall turn to darkness, and its dawning to noonday bright. And Christ's great kingdom shall come on earth, the kingdom of love and light. We've a message to give to the nations, that the Lord who reigneth above has sent us his Son to save us and show us that God is love, and show us that God is love. For the darkness shall turn to dawning, and the dawning to noonday bright. And Christ's great kingdom shall come on earth, the kingdom of love and light. We've a Savior to show to the nations, who the path of sorrow hath trod, that all of the world's great peoples and come to the truth of God, might come to the truth of God. For the darkness shall turn to dawning, and the dawning to noonday bright. And Christ's great kingdom shall come to earth, the kingdom of love and light.
Proverbs is an invitation to wise living. It's easy to live foolishly. We can slink our way through foolishness, but wisdom is something that we attain, we learn, and best of all, wisdom can be mastered. Here's Solomon's wisdom in this short passage from Proverbs. Happy are those who find wisdom, and those who get understanding, for her income is better than silver, and her revenue better than gold. Jesus shares a parable in Matthew 25 about a master and his servants. The servants demonstrate their wisdom and ability through their use of the master's wealth. Through their own wealth and resources, no matter how much, we too are empowered by God with a remarkable tool. Jesus leaves us with the question, how are you leaving your mark on the world through your use of money? For it is as if a man, going on a journey, summoned his slaves and entrusted his property to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. The one who had received the 5 talents went off at once and traded with them, and made 5 more talents. In the same way, the one who had the 2 talents made 2 more talents. But the one who had received the 1 talent went off and dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those slaves came and settled accounts with them. Then the one who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 more talents, saying, Master, you have handed over to me 5 talents. See, I have made 5 more talents. His master said to him, Well done, good and trustworthy slave. You have been trustworthy in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. And the one with 2 talents also came forward, saying, Master, you handed over to me 2 talents. See, I have made 2 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and trustworthy slave. You have been trustworthy in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. Then the one who had received the 1 talent also came forward, saying, Master, I knew that you were a harsh man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you did not scatter seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what is yours. But his master replied, You wicked and lazy slave, you knew, did you, that I reap where I did not sow, and gather where I did not scatter? Then you ought to have invested my money with bankers, and on my return I would have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him, and give it to one of the 10 talents. For to all those who have more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who have nothing, even what they have will be taken away. This is the good news of Jesus Christ. Thanks be to God.
Well, good morning again. I have some unfortunate news for you. This is the start of stewardship season, and so this is one of those dreaded money sermons. Now, if you're here in person and you're thinking you might be able to just slip out the door, please know we've hired 2 special ushers for worship today. Their names are Spike and Nitro, and they'll teach you to love God with their fists. If you're watching online and you think, well, I can just tune this one out, we have also contracted with the finest Russian hackers and even a few prominent members of the Nigerian royal family, if you can believe it, to hijack your computer and return you to our viewing area. And in all seriousness, I know this is not everybody's favorite topic, and in truth, it's not my favorite topic to preach on. But by the way, also, if you are new or if you're one of the people watching who has started tuning into our church's webcast, just know we don't talk about this all the time. We focus on it about once a year. And we focus on it because it's important. And actually, stewardship, oddly enough, has, over the last year, it's been illustrated for me how important this topic really is for a few reasons. First of all, because we know that a lot of us are living a lot leaner right now, and so we have to talk about money in a slightly different way. But also because since March, when the lockdown happened, many businesses have closed. Many churches have closed or will close. And as the lockdown started, it looked like, depending on how things went, we could be one of those churches. That's what it looked like at the beginning. And only because of the generosity of so many people in this church who gave sacrificially during times when the conventional wisdom would have been to hold on to your money and keep it safe, we've been okay. And that has been stewardship illustrated for me better than anything I'm going to tell you today, but you still have to watch this sermon because Spike and Nitro are just outside the door. And I'll just tell you that I believe God calls us to be generous in our giving. The other way that, even though that's true, the other way that we're going to approach stewardship this year is really a broader discussion about money. Because it's important, and we in the church never talk about it. And so we're going to take us to a few steps back because God cares how we use our money, not just in terms of our generosity to the church, but in every area of our life. Now, exactly how much you give to this church and how you arrive at that figure is really none of my business. And whatever it is that you give, just please know that I respect each of you and how you live your faith through your generosity and your sacrifice. And actually, when we look at the bigger picture, which churches rarely do, there's a hard truth hanging out there that we really do have to confront. And when I share it with you in just a minute, it's going to be obvious. You're going to wonder why you even wasted your time with this today. But the thing is, things that are obvious are often easily ignored at the same time. And so here's one of the two big truths that I'm going to share with you today. This is why you came in for church today. Money is important. That's it. Money is important. See, how we use money, how we think about money, how we chase after money, and at times how, let's just be honest, how we worship money can form us. It can form us not just in terms of our financial lives, but also in other areas of our lives, like our relationship with God or our relationship with our neighbors or our sense of spirituality. So it's good to talk about money, even though it makes us uncomfortable. Can you imagine going to a doctor and the doctor would come to you and say, you know what, I just took your blood pressure and it's dangerously high. You have a health problem. If you were to turn to that doctor and say, you know what, I'm sorry, but my blood pressure is a very personal issue and I'd rather not talk about it with you. That's not sound medicine right there. And the same is true when we come to church and we take something that really matters and we decide it's taboo and we won't talk about it. If you want proof that money is important, all you actually need to know is just this one story I'm going to share with you. It's the story of Jack Whitaker. Jack Whitaker owned a construction business, a small construction business in a little county in West Virginia. And in 2002, 55 years old, in 2002, he bought a lottery ticket. Now, he's already, like I said, he owned his own business. He was already pretty well off. And when he chose those 6 numbers for that ticket, it was a very good choice of numbers, because later that night, those exact 6 numbers were chosen. And not only were they chosen, but it was a really good night for those 6 numbers to be chosen, because it was a $319 million jackpot that night. At the time, it was the largest jackpot that Powerball had ever amassed for one of the drawings. And so Jack checked his numbers the next morning and realized he was $319,000 and $900,000 richer. Dream come true. If you had $319 million, what would you do with that money? Here's the thing. Well, first of all, I should say, Jack chose the lump sum, which means he had to scrape by with a meager $114 million. So, but what happened next is unexpected, and perhaps we shouldn't be surprised, because winning the lottery ruined Jack Whitaker's life. Now, a little background here. Anybody ever daydream about what they'd do if they won the lottery? I do it. I do it every time I see it in the news. I don't usually buy the tickets, but it's fun to daydream of, if I won $319 million, I would, you fill in the blanks. First of all, lottery is big business. Americans spend about $70 billion on lottery tickets, and what some of you probably know is that spending is inversely related to income. Poorer people tend to spend more on the lottery than wealthy people. It's our country's most popular tax on the poor. And if you're lucky enough to win, you might regret it, because winners of 7 figures or more, not just, a certain combination of numbers, but the big jackpots, over $1 million, 44% of those winners will declare bankruptcy within 5 years of winning. That's almost half. And if you stretch it out, after 7 years, it's 70%. There's also been a Harvard study that found that winning the lottery is devastating emotionally. You know why? Because after you win, the day after you win, you spend the rest of your life chasing that adrenaline rush of winning the initial jackpot, and nothing really ever adds up to it. For Jack Whitaker, when he won, he did some pretty typical things. First of all, he started by, before he even left the lottery office with the big giant check under his arm, he called his church and a charity that he really believed in and said, "I'm going to give some money to you," which that's praiseworthy. Then he got home with that gigantic check, and he hadn't been home but a minute or two when he noticed he had 3 messages on his answering machine. 2 were from cousins that he had not seen since childhood, distant cousins, with sad stories of how they needed the money, and another was from a man who claimed to be homeless with a sad story of a war record. All of them, of course, were asking for money. And Jack was a soft touch. He would give money to anybody, even before he won the lottery. People would just come out of the woodwork asking for more and more. Soon, Jack's girlfriend broke up with him, and then she sued and got almost half of his winnings right there. She won. He became nervous about putting money in the bank, so he would hide it in his house or in his car. And that's not a great idea under the best of circumstances. But someone broke into his car one day, and there was $500,000 sitting in it, and they got away with it. It happened a second time. There was $200,000 sitting in there that was carried off. His 2 brothers talked him into investing huge sums of money in what turned out to be a shady investment, and that money disappeared. And the thing is, those were the nice brothers. His 3rd brother had been caught in a sting operation trying to hire a hitman to kill him so he could get part of his estate. His brothers. Eventually, after 8 years, Jack Whitaker followed the pattern of so many others and declared bankruptcy. Winning the lottery ruined his life. And see, the truth for Jack Whitaker is also the truth for us. The dollar figures are definitely different, at least in my life. I don't often have to grapple with what to do with $300 million, but he was already successful. He was worth over $1 million. Now, there are times when we do need money. Let's just be honest about that. We're living in hard times right now, and lots of people are living in hardship. So please take that grain of salt with what I'm about to say. But on a given average day, most of us don't need more money. We live in the midst of wealth. There's nothing wrong with the money that we have. It isn't bad in and of itself. But we don't need more money. What we need, this is the other big truth, we don't need more money. What we need is wisdom. That's the conclusion of this first passage we shared from Proverbs. Happy are those who find wisdom. Her profit is better than silver. Her gain is better than gold. We as Americans live absolutely steeped in wealth. Wealth that most people and cultures across the world and across time could barely even conceive of. The average household income just in the fairly poor city that we live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, is $49,800, which if you make that much, if that's your household income, then congratulations, you're in the richest 1.6 percentile of the world's population. 49 out of 50 people in the world are poorer than you. Your income is about 30 times the global average. And yet, so many of us feel poor, even during the pandemic. And the need has been very real and close right now. Yet our hardship, in the midst of this hardship, our wealth, the wealth of our society, has shown. We've spent trillions of dollars in government aid and extra benefits. Even better, the news right now is full of stories of hardship, of economic hardship, of hardship from the pandemic and sickness. But almost as much, we've heard stories of the generosity of communities all across this country, of people doing incredibly generous things to help others. For Americans, our problem isn't a lack of money. What Americans lack is an understanding of money, of its power. And we also lack a healthy relationship with it. What we lack is wisdom. And I'll say this too, and this is paraphrasing another pastor named Jim Harnish, who's a colleague at a church in Florida. He wrote in a book, some of the most important decisions that you will make in life, some of the key moments that will shape you the most, will not be those moments when you have to choose between good and evil. They will be those moments where you have to choose between wisdom and foolishness. That's what the scriptures tell us. Early Methodists were marked by outreach to the poor. That's something that we were known for, is that we were the people that went to the working classes and reached out, not just with charity, but we incorporated those people and welcomed working class people into our communities. John Wesley was a stuffy preacher, as stuffy as I am, and yet he reached out to folks who lived very close to the bone and welcomed them into the family of God. And what happened is, as they were welcomed into the family of God, they started leading slightly holier lives and better every day. This is part of our spirituality. And you know what happens when you start leading a holy life? You don't go to the bar so much. And you don't blow all your paycheck on booze. And you don't do all kinds of harmful things that don't just harm your personal life, but also your financial life. And with all that extra money from holy living, Methodists started building businesses. They no longer were they coal miners, they tended to be more like merchants. After one generation, when Napoleon called England a nation of shopkeepers, he didn't realize it, but he was talking about the Methodist revival. Our founder, John Wesley, realized that a lot of us didn't have background in terms of wisdom when it came to money, and so he came up with 3 simple truths that he believes Scripture taught about money. Repeat them with me. First, earn all you can. Can you say that with me? Earn all you can. Second, save all you can. Save all you can. And third, give, Dave knows it, give all you can. Give all you can. You do those three things, and there's wisdom that grows out of it. Earn all you can. Let's talk about that today. Now, I know we don't talk about this one in church very often. It seems kind of grubby to tell people, oh, earn all that you can. But in fact, we're usually more comfortable focusing on Jesus when he's telling people to sell all their belongings and give to the poor. And we like the give part a lot in church because it feels idealistic. But it bears emphasizing that wealth in and of itself isn't bad, nor is working hard, nor is being industrious or entrepreneurial. Those are good things. Jesus tells about this first truth, earn all you can, in this strange parable in which a master leaves town and he gives to each of his servants a sum of money that he wants them to invest while he's gone. It's a talent of silver. That's a huge sum of money. That's either a year's wages or 20 years' wages, depending on which scholar you're talking to. So for that, let's use the Albuquerque average income of $49,000. That's either $49,000 equivalent or something like close to $1 million. One talent. And he gives 5 talents to one servant, 2 talents to another, 1 talent to a third. First 2, they double their money. They go out and invest, double their money. The last one buries it in a hole in the ground. And it's clear that when the master returns, he's not happy with the servant who laid his investment in the hole in the ground. Now, the part that Jesus doesn't tell us, we don't know what would have happened if one of those servants had invested his money and lost it. That may have been the worst option of all. But Jesus leaves that out. That's okay. You get to do that when you're a son of God. But like any parable, there's some metaphor here. This isn't necessarily teaching about how you should invest your money. And the church has a lousy track record of interpreting this story. Either it is preached by prosperity gospel preachers who say, if you just give a little bit to God, God will give you many times more in return. Or from other pastors, stuffy pastors like myself who are uncomfortable or pious when they talk about money, we tend to just ignore it. And this is a major part of everyone's life. And what we should see in this story, in this parable, is that God has given, first of all, what we should see is God has given every one of us incredible resources. You have wealth, but more than wealth, you have talents and abilities. You have means. What Scripture calls those things, or labels those things, is calling. You have a calling. You have a purpose. Calling is not just for pastors or humanitarians or Mother Teresa types. All of us have a calling. If you're a business person or you work in a trade or a craft, this is how modern society functions. Those are good things, as long as it's honest work. If you're selling advertising for cigarette companies, let's talk after church. But for most of us, our calling is important. And here's where wisdom really becomes important. It's wise to use our talents. It's wise to use the opportunities that come our way for honest income. It's foolish to bury our talents and never find a use for our life. It's wise to use our money well by living within our means and saving for the future. It's foolish to live like the prodigal son from another chapter of another gospel who wasted his wealth on extravagant living. What an un-American thing to say right there. Living wisely may not guarantee that you'll be rich, but it does lead to a healthier life. Paul said in Philippians, I know the experience of being in need and having more than enough. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every circumstances, whether full or hungry, or whether having plenty or being poor. I can endure all things through the power of the one who gives me strength. That last verse is probably the one that we all know by heart, right? Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. We ignore the fact that he wrote that from jail. And we ignore the first part. This is not about us being empowered to be healthy and wealthy and wise just by good thinking or wishful thinking. It's, I know the experience of being in need and having more than enough. I've learned the secret of being content in any of every circumstance. That's why Paul can endure all things. There's a spirituality to work. Do you realize that God put you in this world for a purpose? You exist because God thought there needed to be a you in this world, and somehow you fit within the grander scheme of our culture and our society and the whole world and all of history. So as we start out this season, and it's a short stewardship season, it's just 3 weeks, and actually, like I said, I've learned to trust that you guys care about this place and you'll do what it takes to make this place continue and thrive. But as we start out, before we talk about giving, understand this. Your money, your means, your abilities, your talents, things that you're passionate about, are tied up in God's greater plans for the world. And how we invest ourselves into life, or simply say, I'm going to withdraw and be all about me. I'll just go sit in my hole in the ground. That matters to God. Will you pray with me? Father in heaven, we are so fortunate. Not because of our wealth, although we're fortunate for that, but we're fortunate because you placed us in this world with an aim and a purpose. You didn't just decide randomly that there should be a Josh Kouri or a Susan Collins or a Chris Caldas or a Jason Green, or we can go down the list of everyone here or watching. But you called us into this world, and you thought that us being here would make this a better place. You called your creation good. So, Lord, whatever our purpose is, whatever our calling is, help us to leave this place excited and enthusiastic for the opportunity to go out, earn it. We pray this in your name and in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen. As we close today, I had a whole video I wanted to show you. We're going to have to post it on Facebook because we had some technical difficulties late in the week with it. But what I want to share with you is this. And that was the basic message of it. It'll be better told in the video. We'll show it next week in church too. But what has struck me about this church is that when crisis hit, we didn't go into survival mode. We went into generosity mode. And that's an incredible testimony to this church and to each one of you. It's incredible testimony that so many individuals were sneaking me checks. Not for me, let's just be real clear about that, but sneaking me checks because they thought there might be other people in need. Sneaking me checks because they said, I heard Family Promise is in a different situation than they were because we can't house people and move them around week to week. Here's an extra $500 for Family Promise. I heard that so-and-so from my Sunday school class is hurting right now. They don't need to know that I'm the one who gave it, but here's some money for that person. Or here's some groceries. I heard that UMCOR is doing something incredible because a hurricane hit Houston a few weeks ago. Here's some money for that. I think I gave a perfectly good sermon a few minutes ago, but to me, that's the sermon that this church has told over these last several weeks. We will continue to tell that story. We're going to leave in just a moment and sing our closing song outside. If you want to be engaged in generosity, you can do that by either dropping an offering in the gray box on your way out the door. We can't pass a plate right now because of the danger of spreading the virus that way, but you can give that way. Also, if you're watching at home or even if you're here, you can always, of course, give online by going to mesaviewumc.com or mailing a check to us at 4701 Montano Road Northwest. Let's go ahead and close at this time by carefully exiting the building, and we will sing our closing song. Yeah, Dave, let's go ahead and lead us in our closing song today. God be with you till we meet again.
All right, please join me in the song. God be with you till we meet again. By his counsel's guide uphold you. With his sheep securely fold you. God be with you till we meet again. Till we meet, till we meet, till we meet at Jesus' feet. Till we meet, till we meet. God be with you till we meet again. God be with you till we meet again. 'Neath his wings protecting hide you. Daily manna still divide you. God be with you till we meet again. Till we meet, till we meet, till we meet at Jesus' feet. Till we meet, till we meet. God be with you till we meet again. God be with you till we meet again. When life's perils thick confound you, put his arms unfailing round you. God be with you till we meet again. Till we meet, till we meet, till we meet at Jesus' feet. Till we meet, till we meet. God be with you till we meet again. God be with you till we meet again. Keep love's banners floating o'er you. Smite death's threatening wave before you. God be with you till we meet again. Till we meet, till we meet, till we meet at Jesus' feet. Till we meet, till we meet. God be with you till we meet again.
Remember back in March, I wish we had sung this song the last Sunday in March before we had to close, because I've thought about this song over and over. As you go forth this week, knowing that so much in life is uncertain, I believe God will be with you until we meet again. I believe that'll be next Sunday, which is a really nice thing. But just go from here knowing that God does go with you. And in that sense, go in peace. Amen. Go and be the church.